Now, the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment says that significant work is needed to address pervasive issues like untreated sewage, discharge to land, the freshwater and coastal areas and the problems that they are seeing. And the Deputy Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, Narend Singh, has warned that municipal managers and corporate leaders could face jail time for committing environmental crimes. Now, he was speaking at a launch of the 2023-2024 National Environmental Compliance and Enforcement Report, which highlights progress in tackling environmental crime. Deputy Minister Singh joins us virtually now to talk more about these environmental crimes and their broader impact. Deputy Minister, thanks so much for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
No, thank you very much, Akina. Good morning to you and your viewers. Good to be here.
And it's an absolute pleasure to have you. And just getting straight to it, Deputy Minister, the environmental threats such as climate change, biodiversity loss, the ecosystem degradation, and these rank among the highest on the Global Risk Index. But what exactly is South Africa doing to significantly combat environmental crimes?
Well, thank you very much, Sakina. Biodiversity loss, as you say, is a serious problem, not only in South Africa and Africa, but the world at large. I just got back from Cali, Colombia, where we had the COP16. And, we all recognized as 172 nations that we have to do something about this biodiversity loss, because in a few thousand years, we may not have a planet. And we only have one planet that we've got to preserve for the future, because not only does our constitution say so in terms of Section 24, but it's a moral and ethical thing to do. So in terms of environmental crimes, we've seen an increase in environmental crimes, and like you indicated, in all sectors, whether it's marine pollution, whether it's wildlife poaching, or the brown issues like water and sanitation and pollution of our rivers and streams. So we do have what is called an environmental management inspectorate of about 4,000 people across all spheres of government in the country, with Sand Parks and my department making up most of those EMIs. And we've been meeting since Monday to talk about how we can coordinate our efforts to also with the NPA that are there, the police are there, DMR are there. How can we coordinate our efforts to deal with these crimes? And as you say, in fact, the imprisonment or the sentences is not our purview, but we want to encourage the judiciary to be tough on some of these crimes that are committed that cause environmental threats.
And yet, when we look at the statistics, you launched the 2023-24 National Environmental Compliance and Enforcement Report, which highlights, in fact, a decrease in criminal enforcement actions. You actually mentioned that the registered criminal dockets dropped from 885 to 634. So we don't seem to be walking the talk, per se. What would you say are the factors behind that?
Yeah, I was a bit concerned about that myself, when I read that in the report. It either means that we don't have enough green scorpions, as we used to call them, on the ground, or there's a sense of complacency or despondency, because I know many of our inspectors on the ground at all levels are very committed to ensure that we preserve the environment and send for prosecution people who cause this harm to the environment. But sometimes, the judicial process is delayed. Sometimes you find that, the prosecutorial authorities may not have the know-how or, emphasize environmental crimes as much as they should do with any other crimes. And this is why we are coming together. I think there should be certainly more charges against them, and not only fines imposed. Just yesterday or the day before, you would have heard of a fine on one of our municipalities of 160 million rand that was imposed for contravention since 2018. Now, for me and from the environment sector, imposing fines is not good enough, because at the end of the day, the municipality will pay with taxpayers' money. Pay the fine. What we need to do is hold individuals who are responsible for water and sanitation and other environmental issues responsible. And we hope that the courts, without wanting to interfere with how the courts deal with matters, will look at these issues in that light. CEOs of large companies, industries that are polluting, and I'm looking at your pictures there, I mean, they should be held personally liable and accountable for these kinds of things because they are in management. And this is what we would like to see. And I want to emphasize that we cannot impose on the judiciary what kind of sentences they must mete out. But we think sentences which include imprisonment will send a strong signal to everybody out there.
But Deputy Minister, do we have the political will or otherwise to actually deal with this effectively? The green scorpions that you mentioned, do they actually have the capacity to investigate complex environmental crimes? Because one of the examples that comes to mind, one of the biggest stories that was reported upon was the criminal charges against the agrochemical giant UPL in KZN. I don't know if you remember that. That was regarding the environmental impact of that 2021 warehouse fire. And to date, no court date has yet been set in connection with the alleged crimes by that company. So do we actually have the will to follow through on what you are saying?
Yeah, Sakina, no, it is a matter of concern, and I raised this at the Lekotla as well. That took place 3 years ago during the unfortunate unrest that we had. Since I got into office 4 or 5 months ago, we have been concentrating on the rehabilitation of that area, which is still a bit slow, I feel, but I think we've made sufficient progress. But with regards to prosecutions, it will be up to the NPA to level charges. From our side, as the Green Scorpions in our department, we've done everything in our power to send the docket through to the NPA, and I've asked my senior legal managers and advisors to follow up with the NPA. So perhaps in a week or so, we will know exactly where we stand with that case. But it's more a case of the NPA. And this is why I say sometimes we feel that not much emphasis is being given to these kinds of crimes. And, this is a classic example that you have told us this morning.
And I think, I speak about the will, but it's more than just the will, because is the system equipped to actually deal with this in any meaningful way, Deputy Minister? Because as you say, is it going to take the Minister or the Deputy Minister to follow up every time in order to get things moving?
Well, the categorical answer will be honestly no. Because I don't feel that our prosecutors and our magistrates and our judicial officers are also well trained when it comes to environmental issues. And this is why there's coordination between us. And I was very pleased last week when I met Ms. Shamila Batoy, the head of public prosecutions, and who said to me, listen, DM, let me know which cases have been outstanding and for how long, because she went to the United for Wildlife activity where Prince William was here, and I was also there, and I think understood the seriousness of the threat to the environment. So I'm very pleased that from that end we have buy-in, but we'll have to make sure that at the local level this kind of cooperation continues. So the UPL matters and any other matter can come to court as quickly as possible. But at the same token, we must compliment many of the judicial officers and the prosecuting authority for some of the sentences they mete out. Recently, there were 2 rangers from Sandparks who a few years ago aided and abetted some rhino poachers in moving rhino horns out of the park. They were arrested and they've got 20 years and 18 years imprisonment, respectively. And this is the kind of signal. But Sakina, I also want to say we mustn't get after the small fries who are here in the country. There are people outside of this country that are involved in some of these wildlife poaching and trafficking. And that's why we're working with Interpol and other agencies outside of the country to make sure that we get to these organizers, orchestrators, these big wigs sitting in our country in 20-floor buildings or outside of our country, to make sure that the message goes out loud and clear that when you're dressed in an orange overall in a South African prison, it's not nice.
Indeed.
And we hope the judiciary takes message quite seriously.
Indeed, and I think people would want to see more of these consequences where people are in fact falling foul of the law. To bring it down, back to that local level that you mentioned, Deputy Minister, broken municipal wastewater treatment works, that is probably the biggest cause of pollution. What plans does the department have to counter this problem? And coming back again to the accountability, how are you going to address this?
It is a serious problem, and from the inspections that we've done, almost 52% has been focused on that. Our beaches get polluted, drinking water, people are drinking water. And sometimes we blame communities that live along these rivers and streams, which is the case, but we are moving on an educational awareness program. But you get industries also polluting these streams. And when it comes to municipalities, the state of wastewater treatment plants in municipalities leaves a lot to be desired. And, whether it's rivers flowing into the sea or whether it's, rivers in inland, you find this kind of pollution. And it's frightening to say the least. And in many instances, we would bring it down to negligence. Just, negligence of the authorities in not noticing people dumping waste into these streams and rivers. In one of the municipalities where the court issued a 160 million rand fine, they found raw blood, sewer sludge, fecal coliform, all within these streams. Now, somebody out there should be watching these things, and I would also like to encourage whistleblowers. And I said, one of my ideas is, as much as we have community police forums, we should have community wildlife forums or community environmental forums so that the community can phone in and report these transgressors to us so that we can take appropriate action. But the state of water management treatment plants leaves a lot to be desired. We've had discussions with the Minister of Water Affairs, who is also seriously concerned, and with COPTA to see how we can address. Just, giving compliance notices and issuing them with fines and taking them to court is not going to be the ultimate solution to these problems which affect our community on a daily basis.
Yeah, these problems are many and they're complex, Deputy Minister. Whistleblowers get killed, and there are so many issues that need to be addressed concurrently here. We're out of time, but I just quickly want to ask you, how many municipalities and corporate companies are currently under the radar of your department for committing environmental crimes?
I don't have the exact numbers, unfortunately, but I would say many. And I think your media report and other media reports would also tell us, of certain municipalities where you have these serious problems. In fact, with air pollution, I think the two big transgressors of air pollution are well known. To some of them, we've issued fines, but like I say, sometimes just issuing these fines to large corporates who can afford the fines, or to even municipalities who use your money and my money to pay, is not going to be the panacea to this issue.
We'll leave it there for today. Thanks so much, Mr. Narend Singh, Deputy Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, speaking to us there and saying that it's about time that CEOs and municipal managers are the ones who actually face jail time, if necessary, for committing environmental crimes. That's also the focus of our question of the day. Let us know your thoughts.